There is a massive shift happening right now, and it's coming from the BRICS nations. With BRICS expanding and becoming more powerful, their mission is clear: to break free from the West's financial grip. And one of their key strategies, de-dollarization. And this might be the very catalyst that is going to send Bitcoin to 200K and beyond. And I'm going to explain in this video why. So in this video, we're going to discuss all of the stuff that's happening around the BRICS nations, all of the updates. We're going to look into their strategy of de-dollarization and why this could be the best news for Bitcoin investors. So this is a video that you don't want to miss out on. So be sure to pay attention. Now, before we dive into this video, I need to make one quick disclaimer. Nothing in this video is financial advice. I created this video purely for educational purposes only. I'm sharing my worldviews, my research, but you should always do your own research, form your own conclusions, and before making any investment decision, always do your own research and or consult with a professional financial advisor. And that being said, if you enjoy watching videos like this one and you're excited about all of the money-making opportunities that we have right now in the crypto market, then make sure to smash the like button. And if you haven't done so yet, also make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to post regular videos throughout this crypto market cycle to help you to get an edge as an investor in this complex and ever-evolving crypto market. Now, let's get started. Why BRICS will pump Bitcoin to 200K and beyond. Massive update, guys. Let's discuss everything that's going on. So if you don't know, BRICS is a collective of nations, and the BRICS nations are expanding. Right now, the leaders from 36 countries posed together for a picture during the BRICS summit. Let's have a look of all of these countries that are part of BRICS. India, China, Russia, Brazil, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, UAE, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belarus, Bolivia, Congo, Cuba, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Malaysia, Mauritania, Mongolia, Nicaragua, Serbia, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan, Thailand, Turkey, Uzbekistan, Venezuela, Vietnam, Turkmenistan, and Palestine. So here you see a picture of all of these ministers meeting together at the BRICS summit. And what is one thing that you can kind of observe from this list of countries? They're generally not the typical Western countries. So you don't see any European countries on here. You don't see the United States. You don't see Canada. This is a collective of, I would say, in many cases, they would consider them third world countries, but yet they're very resource rich. So they're resource rich countries. For example, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, UAE, they have a lot of oil and natural resources. So even though they are part of this developing countries, this list of developing countries, they have a lot of potential. And these countries are coming together to form their joint economic and political collaboration under the flag of the BRICS. So the original BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, here you see their leaders connecting together. This was an initiative started in 2011. But right now we're seeing that more and more countries are joining this BRICS collective. So already the list of nations is a lot stronger. And what does that tell us? Well, an increasing number of countries wants to break free from the West's financial grip. So far it has been the US, Canada, Europe, which was kind of ruling the world and dominating the world financially, militarily. And this collective of countries is sort of fed up with that. They want to change the power dynamics in the world. And they understand that they need to form a political and economic bloc together in order to succeed with that mission. So the BRICS nations form a very strong political and economic bloc. Here you see some facts about the BRICS expansion. So here you see the core members in orange. So Russia, China, India, South Africa, and Brazil. So they are scattered across mostly South America, Africa, and Asia. Again, not Europe, not United States, not Canada, not the typical Western nations. And then you see new members, so the green, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina. And then we see a new wave of countries which is applying for BRICS membership. I believe right now they're part of it. Indonesia, Kazakhstan, and a few other nations. And if we look at the share of the global economy, then they have around 29% of the global economic output. When you look at the population, they have almost half of the world's population, 46%. If you look at the oil production, and that's where it becomes very interesting, they have around 43% of the global oil production. So that's massive. Imagine that as a block of countries, as a collective, you control almost half of the oil reserve. They also export around 25% of the global goods. So economically, they have a large population, a lot of economic output, a lot of natural resources. So they have a lot of potential and they have a lot of leverage. So I would say the BRICS are a very strong collective, which might actually rise up to the same power as the West, or Europe, United States, Canada. And they want to destabilize the US dominance through de-dollarization. And here you see a tweet: the BRICS finance ministers gather in Moscow after each minister signs the de-dollarization agreements. It's becoming real now. So yes, again, in 2011, this whole initial BRICS nations came together: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They came together. And now we're seeing more and more countries joining this collective and putting their efforts behind this de-dollarization. So let's take a quick step back and let's talk about how the US got its dominance. Well, in 1974, or in the 1970s, a lot of oil was discovered in the Middle East, primarily in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia wanted to have the US protection to protect itself against other economies or other enemies in the Middle East region. It was a very turbulent region. So the US decided to make a deal. In return for protecting Saudi Arabia, building bases, providing it with arms and military support, what Saudi Arabia had to do in return was to agree that all of the oil that would be traded in the dollar. And this created a lot of demand for the US dollar, because if you wanted to buy oil, you had to buy it in dollars. There was no way to buy it in different currencies. So even if you were a European company, you had to get dollars to buy oil, and this would really prop up the US dollar. And this would also result in the fact that many governments and companies around the world were actually holding US dollar reserves because they had to use it for a lot of the global trade. And in addition to oil, actually the US dollar became the primary currency for global trade. So if you were buying goods or services abroad, then oftentimes those transactions were settled in dollars. And that's how the US dollar became the global reserve currency of the world. And the US dollar is already losing some of its dominance. So here you see a chart from 2000 until 2024, and the red line is the global dollar reserve. So earlier in 2000, it was around 70 something percent, and now we're seeing around 60%. So the number of dollars the amount of dollars that governments are holding in their reserves is dropping. What could this signify? Well, it could signify that more countries around the world see the dollar as less important because maybe they're starting to trade in different currencies. More about that later. So here you're seeing that more non-traditional currencies are being added. For example, the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, but also the Chinese yuan. So that's very interesting. We see slowly that the US dollar is losing some of its dominance. Here you see it's from a different perspective. Right now, around 58% of the global economic trade is settled in US dollars. So it's still a very important currency, but it's slowly losing its dominance over time. And that brings us to the following. China is one of the biggest superpowers, which is threatening the US's dominance. China has gone from one of the poorest countries in the world to becoming one of the world's superpowers. And with all of this economic output, all of this trade that China is doing, actually the Chinese yuan is becoming more frequently used in international transactions. So here you see an article, China's yuan hits internationalization landmark with record share of global payments. So also if you look at this chart, you see in green, that's the percentage of Chinese yuan, which is stored in government reserves, is increasing over time. So that's also backing up these articles. Here in a Japanese publication, China's yuan rises to the 4th most used currency in global settlements. So again, you see a drop in the US dollar and we see an increase in the yuan. And what group is China part of? It's part of the BRICS nations. And as being one of the most powerful countries in the BRICS nations, the Chinese yuan might actually become more commonly used in international settlements. At the same time, we see that more people, companies and governments are losing trust in the US dollar. Why? Because trillions are being printed out of thin air every single year. The US national debt is skyrocketing right now. There's $36 trillion of national debt. Every time you blink with your eyes, you see that another million has been added to the national debt, and it seems like there's no end in sight. The US will just keep on printing more money. And this is actually kind of bad for everyone that's holding dollars in their reserves, because when more money is being printed, the value of one single unit of money decreases over time. So that's also why people are looking for stronger alternatives. And yeah, the yuan might be one of those alternatives. Now, de-dollarization forces people to look for other stores of value. So imagine you are a big company or you are a government with a lot of cash reserves. Then if you're seeing this trend of de-dollarization, you might be triggered to find alternatives to park your wealth. And gold is a good option. It has been traditionally a very strong option. Many great societies, individuals, companies have been very obsessed by gold. But there's a few problems with gold. Gold is impractical. Let's say you've got billions of wealth, billions of dollars in wealth that you want to put in a store of value, and you want to put it in gold. Then you're going to be stuck with many gold bars, many kilos of gold. And with all of that gold, you need to have a great safe. You need to have protection. So it's very difficult to transport it, to store it, to secure it. Whereas $1 billion worth of Bitcoin can be simply put on a ledger or Trezor or any other hardware wallet, and you can very easily transport it over longer distances. You can easily store it in a safe, secure place that nobody knows. The other problem is that the gold market is not very transparent. We don't know exactly how much gold is being mined every single year. And some say that this is the numbers that are published are very manipulated and are actually published in such a way that either the gold price is manipulated up or down, whatever the dominant players in the market want it to be. But with Bitcoin, we exactly know how much Bitcoin there is. We know how much Bitcoin has been mined, how much will be mined, how much new supply of Bitcoin hits the market every single day. We can actually track the wallets of miners. We can see everything because Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network is open and transparent. So you can see anything that you want. And then we already briefly discussed this, but the gold market is highly manipulated. Here you see a news article that JP Morgan had to pay nearly $1 billion fine for manipulating the precious metals market. So there's many counter arguments to make against gold as a store of value. And that's why recently Bitcoin has emerged as an asset class that has many of the great properties that gold has, mainly scarcity. And it adds a lot of other great characteristics to it. For example, that it's easily divisible, so you can divide one Bitcoin into many smaller pieces and you can transact with it. You can store it in different wallets, different locations. You can easily transport it. And that's why there has been a lot of demand for Bitcoin recently. And I believe that when de-dollarization is actually going to happen, so when a larger fraction of people, companies and governments are waking up and seeing that dollars are no longer a steady store of value and that they urgently need to find other solutions. I believe that urgency is going to increase the adoption. It's going to accelerate the adoption for Bitcoin. And I believe it's going to bring a lot of new eyeballs, investors, and capital into the market, driving up the adoption for Bitcoin, which is super bullish. So when we talk about that, then we're probably going to see billions or trillions flow into the market, propping up the price of Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin investors, that is actually really great news. So de-dollarization is a good thing for Bitcoin. Now, in addition, BRICS countries are very bullish on Bitcoin. So Russia's sovereign wealth fund is investing in Bitcoin mining and AI infrastructure throughout BRICS nations with the idea of settling global trade in Bitcoin, according to Van Eck's head of digital assets. So Van Eck is a large asset manager and they have a very large research team. They're closely monitoring what's happening in the world. And according to them, Russia and other BRICS nations are already heavily involved in Bitcoin. Again, Van Eck is saying that 3 of the 6 new members of BRICS, the UAE, Argentina, and Ethiopia, are mining Bitcoin with government resources. So again, these BRICS nations are already heavily involved in crypto, in Bitcoin, and they are embracing it more because they don't see it as a threat to their currency, to their economy. They see it as a nice supplemental industry which could generate a lot of wealth, jobs, and other opportunities for their country. Whereas the United States has been very reluctant to embrace Bitcoin because they feel that allowing something like Bitcoin to be freely transacted and stored and held in their nation could actually undermine some of their own authority and leverage. So they're kind of afraid for Bitcoin, whereas these BRICS nations embrace it. And I do believe that that's also really important. So just a different perspective to what Bitcoin could be for their society. So now you know why BRICS could actually pump Bitcoin to 200K and beyond. Because de-dollarization might trigger a lot of people to wake up and realize that they need to urgently find another store of value for their wealth, for their hard-earned money. And if they can't put it in dollars, and if gold is becoming a less attractive option, then a lot of that wealth will flow probably into Bitcoin, driving up the price of Bitcoin to new and unprecedented heights. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe that this is a realistic thesis? Do you believe that all of the developments that are happening right now around the BRICS nations and de-dollarization could cause a lot of new capital, money, and eyeballs into the Bitcoin market, driving up the price? Curious to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed watching this video, hey, make sure to smash the like button so I know that you got good value out of it. And if you haven't done so yet, also make sure to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be posting regularly throughout this crypto market cycle to help you to get an edge in the market. So make sure to subscribe. That being said, peace out. See you in the next video. Take care. Have a great day.